Hey everybody. Here's the deal. My name's Brandon. I'm 48. I have spent the better part of the last 3 years trying to essentially rebuild my entire life. Um, I my marriage has crumbled. I've lost a job that I cared deeply about. I've moved out into my own place. Got a cat. Um, and I've had to essentially kind of start from scratch in a lot of ways. And that's really what this channel is all about, is just kind of documenting sort of the real-time journey of what it looks like to be rebuilding. And I thought I would take, just a couple minutes to kind of talk about some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. Um, you know, Life is a weird thing, right? Like there's a lot that's inside of our control. There's a lot that's outside of our control. Sometimes the things that we can control lead to things that we can't control, right? It's kind of all over the place. And so, my last 3 years have been tough. And I've learned quite a bit along the way. I've made major mistakes and have reaped the consequences of those mistakes. Um, but I am convinced now more than ever that this season of my life is not the end. Um, that the mistakes that I've made, the things that I've lost along the way, that those aren't the end. And so I thought I'd just take a quick couple minutes. I took some notes. I jotted down 10 things that I've kind of learned over the course of the last couple of years, that I'm still learning. I do not ever want to portray the idea that I've got this all figured out, because I certainly don't. That I'm constantly learning. I whittled this down to 10 for this video. I could probably come up with 20 or 30 more. Just kind of depends on the day, what I'm thinking, right? But yeah, these are kind of the top 10, at least for right now. Um, Things that I've kind of been learning along the way. So the first one is this: your identity can't depend on what you do. So one of the things that I really wrestled with, especially when I lost my job, I built a career that I loved. I was fairly well respected in my field, had a great job, great responsibilities. And when I lost that job, I had to ask myself the question, who am I when the title is gone? And this could be a title in a lot of things, your job title, but it could also be, the title in your relationships. I'm the husband, I'm the boyfriend, I'm the partner, I'm the whatever. Uh, Airplane. Who am I when the title is gone? Your identity can't be wrapped up in what you do, because here's the thing: what you do changes. Your identity needs to be wrapped up in whatever will go with you through all of the seasons of life, right? You are just going to have a season of life where you have a particular job title. What happens when that job title goes away, whether it's your own doing or somebody else's doing? I hear stories a lot about people who've retired and they're like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know who I am anymore. Well, I think part of that is because you've wrapped yourself up, your identity up in the thing that you did. And then when the thing that you did gets taken away, who are you? So you can't allow your identity to become what you do, to depend on what you do. Picked a good day to film this video. Number two lesson that I've been learning is that momentum beats clarity. A lot of times we think we have to have a clear vision of where we want to go, or what we want to do, or the job that we want to have, or what the relationship looks like, before we take any action. But action creates options, right? I've been interviewing and applying for positions, and I've posted some other videos about this. That I kept, even though I wasn't super clear on what I was doing, I kept posting, I kept applying, I kept doing all those things. And then, eventually all of it kind of catches up to you and you've got options on the table. So, if you're waiting for some clarity, before you take the next step, I would encourage you to think about it the other way around. Take the next step, and then things will be clear as they start to unfold in front of you. The third thing that I would share with you is that confidence, this one kind of directly relates to that previous one. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. We aren't going to be super confident when we do something for the first time. That's on purpose. But the more we do it, the more confident we get doing it, right? Like this video for me, I've done a lot of shorts, but I've not done very many long form videos on this channel. Doing it helps me to be more confident in doing it. So confidence follows action. You don't need to feel great whenever you're starting something new. You don't need to feel confident if you're applying for a new job or interviewing for the first time or creating or building a relationship. But you don't have to feel confident, but the action starts to create the confidence. One, two, three. Number four. Number four lesson I'm learning. This one's huge. I'll probably spend some time talking about this in the future. Shame is a terrible architect for your future. Okay. Shame is a terrible architect for your future. I have some strong thoughts about this. Guilt and shame tend to go side by side. I think guilt tends to project itself backwards. I guess it's not really projecting if it's backwards, but guilt tends to be relevant when we think about what's behind us. I feel guilty that I did this or that I didn't do that. Um, Shame, I think, tends to project itself forward. Um, we start to create self-fulfilling prophecies whenever we allow shame to sort of dictate our future. I can't go do this thing because of my past. I don't deserve a life that I'm proud to have because I've made mistakes. I can't be successful or can't have a relationship or don't deserve whatever because of what I've done or who I've been in the past. That's shame projecting itself forward, and it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you allow shame to be the architect of your future, it's going to be a pretty dismal future, right? Um, Shame projects itself ahead, and so before we can really begin to move forward and build the kind of life that we want, we have to deal with the shame issue of whatever it is that's laying behind us. And that's a really, really hard thing to do. I have spent the last 3 years in therapy, both a personal setting and a group setting. And this is something that I come back to all the time. There are some days where I feel like I'm moving forward. There are some days where I feel like I'm really stuck. If I had to zoom back, and this is another thing I love to talk about, if I had to zoom back and look at the overarching arc of the narrative of my story of the last years, I feel like I'm further along than I was. But it's a process that I'm working through, and it's a thing that I'm actively engaging in every single day to not allow shame to project and dictate my future. Right? Shame's a terrible architect for your future. One, two, three. The number five. Number five lesson: quiet victories are still victories. Um, Being honest when it feels uncomfortable, finishing your therapy programs, showing up every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Um, Sometimes a victory in your day is just, I got up and I got out of bed and I did the thing that I needed to do, whether that was go to work or make the phone call or write the letter or apply for the job or clean the kitchen, whatever that is. Sometimes that's the victory, and that's a victory that you're not going to hear people celebrate on YouTube very often, because it's not very remarkable. But quiet victories, I'm convinced, are number one, still victories, and number two, they compound. You keep showing up every single day, you keep winning the small battles every day. Eventually, you're going to stop, you're going to look behind you and see, wow, I have come a long way. And that progress was built on consistent small victories. So those quiet victories are worth celebrating. Don't tell yourself, yeah, all I did today was get out of bed and go grocery shopping. You know, that's a victory, especially if you weren't feeling like it. You did what you needed to do and you showed up even when you didn't feel like showing up. And that's huge. That's huge in this process of rebuilding. All right, next up, number six, you don't have to rebuild everything all at once. Again, kind of like the last point, progress is built on small victories. Um, you went to one interview, you're developing one habit, you are having one hard conversation, you have one idea that you're working on. The point is you're showing up one day at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's never going to really happen overnight unless you stumble into a lottery ticket, which, I find to be very rare. Um, you don't have to rebuild everything all at once. Sometimes sometimes the only thing you can concentrate is on the one thing, you know. I believe we have only so much bandwidth that we can sort of contain in our entire lives. Sometimes if you look at it like a circle, right? Like a pie chart, the biggest chunk of your bandwidth just is going to go to doing a good job at your work or getting a job. Maybe you're in a season of life where the biggest chunk of your bandwidth can be spent cultivating relationships. Maybe you are working really hard to rebuild or rearrange your mental or emotional state. The point being that sometimes the biggest chunk of the pie, that's all you can really focus on. That's all you really have time to focus on. And that's okay, because you don't have to rebuild everything at once. Eventually, the biggest chunk of your pie is going to become a smaller chunk, and something else is going to become a bigger chunk. And that can be based on all kinds of things, circumstances, or the season of life that you're in, or whatever the pressing matters of that day or week or month are for you. And so, you don't have to do all of it at once. In fact, if you try to do all of it at once, I'm pretty convinced you probably won't do anything very well, right? So this process of rebuilding is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to fix, 10 areas of our life at one time. You just have to focus on the one or the two that you have the bandwidth for. But that's still a win. It's still progress. Next one. I should have numbered these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7. Becoming a better man is more important than becoming a successful one for me. And this is something that I'm learning all the time. Becoming a better man is more important than becoming a successful one. Success, for me, the definition of success has changed a lot, especially over the last couple of years. It used to be, again, this ties back to the first point. I wrapped my identity up in what I was accomplishing, right? How much was I making? What was my title at work? What responsibilities did I have? Did my boss like what I was doing? Did he give me praise, or she give me praise and acknowledgement and awards? I wrapped my identity up in those things. And then again, when all of those things are stripped away, what do you have left? And so for me, becoming a better man is going to be more important than all of those things. Core values. This is where core values really come in. One of the first shorts that I did was, or maybe it's one of the first longer videos I did was we tend to ask ourselves the wrong question. What do I want to be? The better question is, who do I want to be? And I have spent time creating a list of 4 core values, and those 4 core values are really the filter that I kind of look through everything in. And if it doesn't align, the decision I'm getting ready to make, or the thing I'm getting ready to do, if it doesn't align with one of those core values, then I question if it's worth doing. And so, not worrying about what success looks like, especially from a monetary or an accomplishment sense, but more, who am I becoming, and does who I am becoming align with who I want to become, the core values of who I want to be. Yeah. The next lesson: you can't control outcomes. You can only control who you're becoming. Okay. I've been on a couple job interviews. Once I go to the interview, I can't really control what happens next. If they call me back and want to do another interview, I can show up there, but I can't control what they decide. I can't control how they feel about me. I had a situation a couple of months ago where somebody did not like me very much and said all kinds of pretty terrible things about me. And I really struggled with that, and it had some ramifications, especially in my workplace. And I realized that says more about that person than it does about me. And so I can't control what people do. I can't control outcomes, right? I can only control myself, who I'm becoming, how I show up, if I show up, how prepared I am when I show up. But I can't control other people's views or responses to those things. I can only control myself and who I'm becoming. I think that brings us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, number 9, and number 10. Number 9 is this: hope is built, not found. Okay? Hope is built, not found. Um, Hope becomes evidence of the work that you're doing. It's real easy to start off on this journey not feeling really great about where you're headed or what you're doing, not feeling, again, confident. But as you begin to piece these small wins together, you begin to piece um, your core values together that we've talked about, you begin to get a glimmer of hope. And the thing about that is you're building hope. It's not just, you don't just stumble into it. You have to work at it. Hope is something that you have to work at. I think hope is going to be related to um, the effort that you put into it. But then hope kind of flips on its head a little bit and it becomes what sustains you when things get hard. So once you catch a glimpse of that hope, it begins to motivate you, right? To continue to move forward, even if you don't feel very hopeful at that particular moment. Hope is something that you cultivate, that you build. You don't just stumble into hope someday. You have to find it. You have to look for it. You have to build it. Um, and then once you do that, hope sustains you when things feel like they're going backwards because you get a taste of something, right? Like I've thought about this a lot. Um, you, you don't know how bad you feel until you feel good, and then you're like, wow, number one, I felt terrible, and now I feel good. And then when you start to feel bad again, now you have a frame of reference where like, yeah, this doesn't feel great. I remember feeling good. And you want to get back to how that is. I think hope is the same way. Once you get a taste of hope, it then becomes something that you hang on to whenever you don't feel very hopeful. But it's something that you have to work at. And then finally, number 10 is this: starting over isn't the end of the story, right? If you had told me at 48 I'd be making these kinds of videos and I'd be in the season or the stage or the circumstances in my life that I'm in right now, I would not have felt very good about it. But what I'm realizing, what I'm learning is that rebuilding, being in progress, starting over is not really the end. It really very much is a new beginning. The difference between this new beginning and a new beginning at, say, 20 years old is you've got all this life behind you now, and you've learned a lot of valuable things along the way, and you have experiences that you can't replicate without having lived through them. And so, my life at 48, the story is not done. I'm just continuing to write chapters. And that's kind of part of this video, part of this channel that I've created here, is that rebuilding is not something that you need to hide. Um, it's something to document. It's something to share. Even if you're just documenting it for yourself. But I'm finding that there are a lot of people who are, rebuilding in the sense that I'm rebuilding. Like, you've lost everything, right? You've lost your relationship, your job, your home, whatever that looks like. You've lost all these big things, but also rebuilding. I mean, rebuilding is literally to build again. I think we're always in a process of rebuilding. We're always going to be hopefully trying to find ways to build something better than what it was before, and that's something to be proud of. It's not something to hide or be ashamed of. Um, it's something to share, and it's something to be proud of. I am still rebuilding, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I'm still making mistakes. I mentioned these 10 things that I've learned. That is not because I have mastered this stuff, even kind of a little bit. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And like I said, I could probably share 30 or 40 more little lessons that I'm learning as we kind of go. So maybe you're in the season of life where you're rebuilding something as well. Maybe it's a career or a relationship. Maybe you're rebuilding your confidence. Maybe you're rebuilding your habits. Maybe you're just trying to identify who it is you want to be when everything else is stripped away, your core values or your words that you want to live by, whatever that is. Some days it feels like progress. You're making some progress, and some days it feels like you're literally not moving at all. But showing up day in, day out, I've found, is usually going to be the right answer. So there it is. one of these has resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you're in the process of rebuilding or um, you know, resonating with me on this particular journey, I'd love for you to follow along. Like I said, I'm just kind of documenting this in hopes that I know it's helpful to me, but also in hopes that maybe there's somebody out there that this could be helpful and encouraging for as well. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope wherever you're at in the world, it's a great day, and we'll see you next time.